Are we good? We're ready to go? Okay, hi everybody. So, welcome to the live stream. This is Academy for Elfsea, and tonight is class number 1. So for those of you that are tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Real quick, for those of you that are tuning in with the purpose of you wanting to do class credit, if you could just give the stream a like, and then in the comment area, if you could just comment with your Monday name, your SCA name, what group you're with, if it's not Elfsea. Let me know your group's name. If you're tuning in from out of kingdom, if you're not in Onstiora, and you're tuning in from another group, if you could let me know what group that is, that would be fantastic. Let me think now. What else do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about what? Oh, oh, right. So I'm sorry, you guys. I'm kind of getting there. So one of the things that I want to talk to you all about real quick, if you wanted to tune in and pick up one of these booklets, these are the booklets that we've got out there. It is in the files section in the Academy of Elfsea public Facebook group. Anyone can join. I'm the moderator, so if you join, I'll go ahead and just approve it. And you can go ahead and print one of these up, and it is full of a ton of great information, lots of links, lots of patterns, all kinds of neat stuff in there. And just real quick, I want to give a huge thank you to Honorable Lady Aurelia for coming up with this. She did the original version of this. And then, of course, to our own Baroness Cat and Lady Melody, who kind of Elfsea-fied it for us to make this work. So anyone can print these, and you can take notes in them and all of them. They're yours to mark up, whichever you like. And you can use these during class. Or if you go to an event, you can bring this with, and it's just full of lots of good information, and you can jot all kinds of neat little things in there if you'd like, okay? Gosh, so let's talk about tonight's class. So tonight's class is SCA 101, and this is all about where we are, where we come from, what is this SCA thing that we're doing, and how did we even start? Where does this group come from? Once we kind of know where we've been, we'll have a much better idea of where we want to go. And I want you guys to have a really good, solid understanding of this so that as you move forward and start learning about all the great things about the SCA and all the things that you get to enjoy and try and have fun with, you'll kind of have an idea about why we do some of the things we do. And some of it is stemmed in the various laws of the kingdoms. Some of them are stemmed from just traditions that we've either tried to recreate in our own way or try to revive, or even just we invented it ourselves because it just seemed like a really cool, efficient thing at the time. And so we'll talk a little bit about those things as well. Okay? And for those of you that are tuning in that are not from Onstiora and are tuning in from another kingdom, keep in mind that some of the ways that we have our traditions may not be exactly what y'all do, and that's okay. I'm sure you have an equivalent or maybe even a different way of doing things, and I'm sure it's just fine. I'd love to hear about it if you want to chime in the comments about, you know, well, hey, in Elfomorph we actually do this, or in Ontier it's been our tradition to do this. I'd love to hear about that stuff. That would be wonderful if you'd like to share it with us. So tonight's class is going to be taught by the absolutely fabulous Master Robin of Gilwell, who is a member of the Order of the Laurel. He is a member of the Order of the Pelican. He is the Grant Level Combat Award for heavy weapons for Onstiora is called the Centurion of the Sable Star. He is Centurion number 1, shared amongst 6. And he is also one of the 3 premier Masters of Defense for Onstiora, which is fantastic. And I'm so very grateful and honored and humbled that he has chosen to be with us and share the knowledge that he has and just his information. And y'all, he tells a great story, so you're in for a treat tonight. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. If you have questions along the way, we're going to be monitoring the feed. So if you have a question, just chime in there, and I will go ahead and see that and make sure that we chime in so that it doesn't get missed. Okay? All right, and without further ado, let's go to Master Robin. If you wouldn't mind, you introduce yourself and take it away.
Hi there, I'm Robin of Gilwell, fencer, poet, bard, herald, heavy fighter, although I can't do that anymore, I'm 63. I'm going to try to share what I've seen in the SCA since I first heard about it in 1975 and decided I wanted nothing to do with this bunch of weirdos. Please interrupt me. The SCA has its own language. And if I use a term you don't know, there's only one person in the room who absolutely positively cannot know I failed to communicate. And that's me. Stop me and make me explain myself. I understand that's harder for people online. I also understand that it's supposed to be possible. I've not done this online before, so I'll probably spend most of my time looking at the people in front of me because I am a teacher and that's what I do. Please remind me when necessary that you're some of the people in front of me. First of all, this is the SCA. What does that mean? There were once 6 blind men looking at the SCA, and one of them felt the SCA's Articles of Incorporation and said, the SCA is like a fight club. Another blind man felt the costume. Then another blind man went to an arts competition and said, the SCA is a crafts guild. The 5th blind man went and read some of our documentation and said, the SCA is a research group. And finally someone said, stop that. You're not blind, you just got your eyes shut. Open your eyes and look. The SCA is a large, awkward, funny-looking beast, totally unlike anything else on Earth. But they didn't open their eyes, so they spent the rest of their lives arguing over what the SCA is. The SCA is a large, awkward, funny-looking beast, totally unlike anything else on Earth. That's the crucial fact. And every short description of it you have ever heard is somewhat true and ridiculously incomplete. There is not one simple thing that it is. There are groups that do a lot of the things we do. There are HEMA groups who do some of the fighting we do, and they insist on a specific level of research and a specific level of skill, which we do not. There are costuming guilds who focus on costumes, and a lot of them have standards far beyond our minimum standards. These groups have dozens, sometimes a few hundred people in them. The SCA has tens of thousands. The reason we have tens of thousands of people and they have dozens of people is because we don't have a single thing that we do, and we don't have a single standard that we keep. And you will quite often hear them speak badly of the SCA. Costuming groups will say, we have so many costumes that just aren't very good at all, and they're right, we do. Because a lot of our people aren't that interested in costuming. What's our costuming standard? An attempt at pre-17th century costume. That's all. How good an attempt? The document doesn't say. Because there are lots of people here with no interest at all in costuming. A lot of the fight groups, the HEMA groups, really upset that the SCA has so many people who have no interest in fencing manuals at all, have no interest in trying to do it in the period style, and they get together with their 36 people. And we have tournaments of hundreds and wars of thousands. You can have dozens of people who agree, or you can have tens of thousands of people who get together without agreeing. For better and for worse, the SCA has tens of thousands of people who get together without agreeing. That makes it a great place to come do what you want to do. It makes it a horrible place to come get away from things you don't want to deal with. What the SCA is was not planned. Yes, you can read the documents about what the SCA is. What the documents do not tell you is that the SCA was going for 3 years before the documents were written. The SCA did not grow out of the documents. It did not start as a non-profit organization. We have a non-profit organization that supports us, but it's not who we are. And if the SCA Inc. disappeared tomorrow, Elfsea would still have Elfsea dependent. We are us. So, who is us? One of the reasons that there are so many ideas of what the SCA is and so many things that the SCA does is because it was never intended to be what it is. What was it intended to be? A one-day party. In 1966, Diana Paxson was getting her MA in medieval literature, and they said, they wanted to celebrate, they said, hey, let's hold a tourney. Basically a costume party where you hit people with sticks. And they threw it together, and it was no more accurate than anything else a bunch of college students throw together quickly. It was held in somebody's backyard. It was presided over by someone who called herself Queen Lucy of Narnia. This is not a historical organization, guys. This is a party. They opened with an invocation in Latin from Winnie the Pooh, the Latin Winnie the Pooh. A bunch of guys called themselves knights and used the title Sir. And one guy, David the Hero, said, you know, with all these knights, there ought to be a squire. I'm going to be a squire. So he was the only fighter there that day who didn't call himself a knight. At the end of the day, the winner, Richard of Montreal, you'll hear about him again later, won, and his prize was he got to name the first Queen of Love and Beauty, and that's the first title in the SCA, Queen of Love and Beauty. And they said, you know, let's do a ceremony. Let's knight the squire. So they called him up, and they had a knighting ceremony, and that's the first official award of the SCA. And I love the fact that knighthood is rooted, SCA knighthood, is absolutely born out of humility. He's the guy who didn't give himself rank. That's it. It's over. We're done. Actually, not quite. For one thing, they had marshals on the field deciding who won each fight. And actually, Fulk won that day. The next day, they went back and they looked at movies they'd taken of it, Super 8 movies, and decided, no, they'd gotten it wrong, and they decided that Richard had won. So the guy who won the first tourney didn't win it till the next day. That's it. Costume party over, put everything away. That was fun. A few months later, they decided, you know, that tourney we held, that was fun. Let's do it again. So, but enough people want to do it, it wouldn't fit in the backyard anymore. So somebody had to go fill out a form to reserve a place in the park. Her name was Elfrida of Greenwoods. You may know her as Marion Zimmer Bradley. And she was filling out the form, and she got down to name of organization. We're a bunch of kids who had a party. You don't put that on a city form. So she said, well, Society for Creative Anachronism, that's it. People will sometimes tell you that there was some deep meaning behind those words, and there is none. The deep meaning behind those words is there's a form the city wanted her to fill out. And they did it again. And this time, the Queen of Love and Beauty from last time was called Queen, and she presided over it, and that's the first SCA royalty. This is the Queen, the consort of the person who won last time. Not the person who won, just his consort.
So we didn't start with a king. We actually
No.
started with the Queen.
We started with the
Number
Queen.
one was a Queen.
Yep.
Did not know that. That is so cool.
By the third tourney, they were king and queen, the winner and the person he fought for. And all of a sudden, the kings are ruling. West Kingdom law, this was all in Berkeley. It grew into what is now called the West Kingdom, and West Kingdom law still says the king's word is law. They have forgotten that the queen first ruled. By contrast, You are in the kingdom of Unsteaua. Unsteaua in law reads, the word of the crown is law. So, it was clear they were going to keep this up. 12th night, year 2, which was less than 2 years after they started. This is January of 68. Please understand that the SCA is something that grew out of Berkeley in the 60s. Okay? This is as counterculture as you can get. And 12th night of 68, January of 68, it became clear that they were going to need a little more structure, that for one thing, other people besides fighters can do something worth noticing. So they established several new awards. The big one for our purposes is a non-fighting thing that was equivalent to knighthood, called the Order of the Laurel. It was for any non-fighter who deserved the same level as the knights, which level was now called peerage. Please understand this is incorrect. In Europe, knights are not peers. The peers are the rulers, they're the barons. The SCA is not a perfect simulation, and never has been. It has sometimes tried to get closer in some ways, but given the base we start with, it is impossible to do things in a purely period way. For one thing, 95% of us are not out in the fields growing food. We all get to be highly ranked people. We are all presumed to be gentle. What does gentle mean, by the way? Own land. The gentle classes are the land-holding classes. You don't have to be a title. You have to have your dirt. We are presumed to all be of the gentle classes. Does that mean you can't play a beggar? No, it doesn't. It means you don't have to play a beggar. If this was a personal class, I would go tell you what new awards they set up in the 3rd year. But it's not. We're going to move on. They are holding more tourneys. Now, some of them moved away and went to Boston. And guess what? That didn't mean that they stopped holding tourneys. It means they held new tourneys, and they called these the King in the East. Oh, let me back up and go back to the Order of the Laurel, because there's a couple of weird things here. One of it, which is, why laurel? Because laurel trees grow in that park. And so the laurel, what?
That's why they came up with, it wasn't the whole Roman thing, it was because laurels grew.
There are 10,000 things that come together. That's why they used the laurel wreath. The arms of the society, which is to say the arms of the West Kingdom, because they were the same thing, or a laurel wreath vert, which is to say a green laurel wreath on yellow. Because this was the peerage order for everyone except the fighters, they used the name of the symbol of the society, the laurel wreath. Now, note I said everything except the fighters, right? The first two, the idea was you would all be given a unique title. The first two were Master Artificer and Master Musician. Not long later, there was Mistress Listmaker. And the theory was you get your own unique title. That doesn't last too long. Not once you have several musicians. They also established a new peerage order, part of the Order of the Chivalry, which was the title Master of Arms for, remember Richard of Montreal? Won the first tourney, won the 4th tourney too, by the way. And would not be a knight, because he would not swear fealty. He claimed his reasons were that he was Jehovah's Witness and could not swear fealty to any earthly lord. So they established Master of Arms, which is the equivalent of a knight, except they're not required to swear fealty. There are a few in Untitled. There aren't many. There is one. There has been one in there have been three in Elfsea. Duke Jonathan, Duke Inman, and Master Erickley. I don't know of an active one in Untitled right now. Erickley you'll see sometimes. Now, in the third year, some people went down to the state capitol and filled out a form for a non-profit corporation with themselves as the board of directors. This almost split the SCA apart because the SCA had not agreed to have them on top. And there were a lot of meetings and discussions, and finally they decided we're not going to break apart over this. So the board of directors did not create the SCA. They put themselves on top of it. Now they are in charge of the business side of it. They have some major policy decisions on the medieval side. But generally, they try to do the 21st century stuff and leave the 14th century stuff to us. Now, some people moved to Boston. They wanted to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So they had a Kingdom of the East. And its arms were purple with a green laurel wreath, fimbriated, which they surrounded by yellow, because you can't put green on purple. Some people moved to Chicago. They started holding tournaments. So they made what they called, and what is still called today, the Kingdom in the Middle. Now, cute little piece of trivia. The actual event was that they created the Kingdom in the Middle, where they crowned their first king and queen. You know the actual name of it? WorldCon.
You're kidding.
Nope, it was held at the World Science Fiction Convention.
Because, yeah,
Sure, why not?
Because
I mean, you know.
And
Because
there's
of our
something
people.
crucial here, which is people moved from Berkeley to Boston and from Berkeley to Chicago. But people started holding demos at science fiction conventions, and there weren't that many people with funny clothes yet at science fiction conventions. We were it. And we made a lot of noise when we beat on shields with swords. And many groups were started because people came to a science fiction convention, saw the SCA demo, went back home, and started an SCA group. The first group in what is now Untitled, Untitled, I've used that word 2 or 3 times. It's Saxon. On, one, Steora, star. Untitled is now most of Texas plus Oklahoma. There were no groups in what is now Oklahoma when it was named. 1 star. The first group was a group of science fiction fans who went out to a science fiction convention, came back, and started their group. Now, that was in the early to mid-70s. It was actually 73 when they submitted their paperwork. Now, by this time, it had grown, there was more structure. There was a 4th kingdom, which was the Kingdom of Atenveld. Now, it was established in Phoenix, which was the barony of Atenveld. Now, did you notice the problem there?
Mm-hmm.
Atenveld, the kingdom, went from Idaho to Florida.
Oh my God.
One giant kingdom.
But there wasn't anybody in it except in Phoenix. Through science fiction conventions, groups get started again. There's starting to be one, South Downs in Atlanta. They're part of Atenveld. How much help do you think they get from the people in Atenveld, which is to say Phoenix?
Way too long a drive.
Yeah, well, the Kings, yeah, I go all over Atenveld. I drove all the way up to North Phoenix. I went all the way down to South Phoenix. I went all the way over to East Phoenix, to West Phoenix. I've been all over Atenveld. Because Atenveld meant Phoenix to them at least as much as it meant Idaho to Florida. So that's a situation when a group of 5 people sent in their paperwork from Houston saying they want to be a group called Stargate. Why Stargate?
NASA.
NASA, absolutely. Science fiction fans, remember? And they got a letter back from the board saying, okay, you are now the barony of Stargate, and this name, Miranapolis, picked at random off your form, is now your barony. The theory at the time is that there was always, the first group in any state would become a barony. That way, there would always be someone within 50 or 100 miles of you who could give out awards. This theory works better in Connecticut than it does in Texas. The second group was in the Steps, Dallas. Well, actually, in the Steps, Dallas, Fort Worth, and that's 240 miles away from the barony of Stargate. Besides which, for a barony to give out awards, the Crown has to say yes. The Crown is busy at going all over Adenville. And, excuse me a second. We were orphans. Now, in a very real sense, the Kingdom of the West referred to the people of the Word and the people of the Book. Because when the SCA Corporation was founded, they established a thing called Kapor, which is the book of how you do it. And you started having to get approval from the Board of Directors. Now, in the West Kingdom, they make a very strong distinction between the people who were the groups that were founded based on the Word, and people who were founded by the corporation, which they call the people of the Book. The people of the Book, by the way, is a perfectly period phrase. It means all of Christendom, Judaism, and Islam. The book being the first 5 books of the Bible that they all share. Now, this is a very real distinction, and if you ever visit the East Kingdom, you will find how much, because their paperwork determines everything in a way that will never be true here. What the West Kingdom doesn't get is that, yes, there was a book called Kapora when our group started. We never saw it. We are the people of the rumor. And it makes a big distinction. If a question comes up in the West Kingdom, they say, well, what did we do 50 years ago? That's the people of the Word. If a question comes up in the East Kingdom, they say, what does kingdom law state? In Onsteora, we say, well, what do you think we ought to do? And it makes a difference in how we operate. There is law. We have kingdom law. We have constitutions for our orders. We have a lot of things written down. We have tradition. And people who think that they can ignore tradition because they find something in the law are flat wrong. People who think they can ignore the law because there's something in tradition are also wrong, by the way. Best example I know of, because I happened to discover it, we've been a kingdom for 3 years, and I discovered that our rules of the list did not include anywhere the word hold.
Oh, really?
Now, for those of you who don't fight or haven't seen the fighting field yet, the essential safety rule is there are marshals on the field, and when they see something unsafe, they yell hold, and everything stops. Every fighter knew this. It is not like we didn't have that rule.
Right.
Nobody had noticed that we hadn't written it down. If a fighter had said, I didn't have to stop, it's not written down anywhere, it's not in the rules, they'd have been told him, you're right, it's not in the rules, off the field now. Because we're not stupid. And because the piece of paper doesn't rule, the people rule here. Okay. We got into the early 70s. The first groups in what is now Onsteora have started in the Kingdom of Adenveld. and the Kingdom of Atenville almost but not quite totally ignores us. For a while in the 70s, mid to late 70s, the Kingdom Seneschal had a job that would take him traveling along the southern part of the country. And the king would give him a bunch of scrolls, signed but with no names filled in, and say, go find some peers and lords and ladies and give them titles. Now I know short about this.
It rained. Yeah.
You have never been to the group in Stargate. You're never going to the group in Stargate. But your Kingdom Seneschal, who is a knight, is. Makes sense to give him a knight scroll and say if there's somebody there who deserves to be a knight, make it. Because it's not like you care what happens to these people. I mean, you don't know them. And in fact, the first knight maiden on Steaua was not one of the top half dozen fighters on Steaua. The reason is, Michael of Moya, the Seneschal, came through and decided in his own mind whoever wins this tourney is going to be a knight. It's the only tourney he ever won. But it was the one that mattered. Excuse me a minute, dinner's getting cold.
I got it. Is everybody good on drinks? I'm good. Do we remember who the gentleman's name? The first knight of Untitled? Does anybody know?
Sir Tall Map, Lion of Unsteaua.
Sir, who is it? Sir who?
Tall Map.
M-A-T?
M-A-P-T.
M-A-P? Okay.
I first heard this from a much better fighter who was quite miffed.
I bet you so. I'm okay. I probably won't.
Now, we're trying to get started. We don't have really any help. We have occasional problems from the outside, but we don't have much help. And so we're really reinventing everything. The second group was founded in the steps, and they at least, or in Dallas-Fort Worth, and they at least had some knowledge because Richard of Montreal had moved. Remember Richard, the first master of arms, the first person, won the first tourney and fourth tourney. So Duke Richard founded the steps. And established its first tournament, the Steps Warlord. Local groups have no right to the title Warlord. That's something reserved for Principality and above. But we didn't have anyone to stop us, and Richard said we could do it, so we did it. Steps still has a Warlord title because Steps Warlord predates the Crown of Unsteaua by several years. Groups are starting to show up elsewhere. San Antonio gets a group. It was the Shire of Bearsford. Why Bearsford? Bear County, B-E-X-A-R. It's a Mexican name.
You're kidding.
No.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
They
I've always
eventually
wondered why
changed
there are
that
bears.
to Bjornsborg, which means Bear City. But yes, it's a canning.
That's so cool.
Fourth group was in Beaumont. Became the Shire of Baltimore. Then the Shire of Shadowlands, which is the College Station area. Why Shadowlands? Because they get ignored by everyone.
And that is also why Warlord has their Queen of Love and Beauty. That is why that title is so important. It is homage to the first.
So I have a question. You had mentioned that the first ruler in the SA was a queen. Has there ever been a sole queen since then?
No, because the rules up until this year said you have to have a king and a queen. Anyone who fights in crown tournament, we choose our king and queen in the tournament. Anyone who fights in crown tourney has to have carry the favor of someone who will rule with them. Now, I'm very carefully not saying he has to carry her favor, because in 1989 or 90, no, she was ruling in 91, so it had to be
I was going to say, I thought it was 91, 92.
November 90 was crown tournament, and Rowan Beatrice von Camper, Duchess Rowan, won the tournament herself. She became the sovereign queen, and Hector was her king consort. They ruled twice before that he had won, and in fact, he is the one she beat in the final round. And that happened in 90. How do I know that date so well? When I became Baron, I was elevated by Hector and Rowan, and we returned our coronets to Rowan and Hector.
Oh, that's so cool.
No woman had done it since until last month.
Yeah.
The current Princess of Eldemir won it with her own hand and has named her prince, who will become her king when she becomes queen.
And she's a master at arms, y'all. Both her and her husband.
But we did have a queen that ruled by herself, but she did not win the tournament.
Right.
Because Emily, Her Majesty Emily's husband, he had passed away on the moon battle.
Yeah, no, you're right. You were right.
There was that. And I think they were prince and princess at the time. And they chose not to bring her.
Jafar.
Right?
I did this when Jafar died.
It was Emily, yeah, that was one.
Okay. We are getting bigger. We get to know each other. We found the Principality of Elfsea. Now, what's a principality? It's a subgroup, like a sub-kingdom, ruled by a prince and princess who are chosen every 6 months by a tournament, but can't do anything without permission of the crown. Some principalities exist to be subunits forever. The West Kingdom has 4 principalities, and they've had them for over 30 years, and that's what they're for. Most places, a principality exists because you want to eventually grow to be a kingdom. That is exactly why Elfsea existed. We wanted rid of Adenbelt. Now, Adenbelt at this time stopped at the end of Texas, because Meridies, the Deep South, had already split away from them. In 78, Sean and Katerina became our first prince and princess, and the king of Adenbelt had kind of a problem. Now, he actually lived in Albuquerque, the barony of Albuquerque. Yeah, it actually had spread beyond Phoenix. And
I know, I think so.
he lost his job. They were living out of a Fury 3. And what they were doing was they'd pull into town, say, for instance, Austin, and call up the seneschal of the group in Austin and say, hey, the king and queen are in town. Would y'all like to hold a revel and meet your king and queen? Now, usually the crown's 2,000 miles away. You'll drop everything and hold a revel means hold a party, right?
Sure.
15 minutes later, yeah, we're going to have a revel. Please come by. And near the end of the party, the king would go up to, or the queen would go up to the host or hostess and say, look, I hate to say this, but we haven't had time to make hotel reservations because we've been here. Can y'all put us up for a couple of days? And the couple of days would stretch out to a week, And they'd drive out, and they'd go to, let's say, Baltimore, Beaumont. Problem is, people in Austin talk to people in Beaumont. And so when King Chorus called up the seneschal there, who was Lady Tessa of the Gardens, very nice lady with a very gentle voice. And nobody believes there was steel there. He called and said, "Hi there, the king and the queen are in town. Would you all like to hold a revel and meet the king and the queen?" And she said, "Well," yeah, it was horrible weather. Raining, cold, may possible freeze. "Let me check with my people. We'll find out if people want to hold a revel. Tell me your what hotel you're staying at. We'll call you and tell you the answer as soon as we have an answer. We'll call you back." 20 minutes later, they called the seneschal. "Yes, Your Majesty, I talked to my people, and they've decided that they don't want to come out on a day like this. None of them want to hold a revel on a day like this. But if you'd like to hold a revel in your hotel room, tell people. I'll be happy to spread the word and tell people where it is." And King Chorus said to Lady Tessa, "You are my seneschal, and you will hold a revel in your home tonight."
Wow.
Lady Tessa did not reply. Liz Lee replied, and she said, "Mark, the Lee home is not open to the SCA tonight." And that was the end of that. Now, the next fun trick from the same crown was the Crown Travel Fund.
Oh, really?
And they decided, now, right now, the on groups, particularly the ones in South Texas, Southeast Texas, have a great opportunity because of the Texas Renaissance Festival. We were working a couple of the games out there, and while groups out in near Aidenbelt were funding their events by walking down the highway picking up bottles, we had 3 and 4 and 5, sometimes 5-figure bank accounts, which was huge for the SCA in that time. So they decided, the king decided, that all groups would be taxed 10% of their monies, that money to go to the travel fund. And as I understand it, the small groups that had like $13 in their account sent their $1.30 in. But the on groups with big money held a grand curia and talked about it, and finally decided, we're not going to do it. The Prince Sean still, is going to an event in Mudies in Southeast America, where he has to tell his king, who will be there, we're not going to do what you said. He's a knight, he's a prince, he's in fealty, and he has to tell the king no. So they're driving along on the way to the event, and he's talking to one of his knights, Sir Randall, saying, I don't know how I'm going to say this. And Randall said, well, yeah, I see the problem. You can't just tell the king no. Pull over, pull over, pull over, pull over, pull over. He's seen a sign that said chickens, $2. So he pulled over, and Randall went out and said, show me your ugliest chicken. What? We have some perfectly good chickens. I don't want them. Show me your ugliest chicken.
Oh, no.
And Randall paid $2 for a half-grown, half-plucked, half-dead, ugly chicken. And they went to the event. In due course, the prince was called up in court. He had his knight Sir Randall with him. And he came up and said, we have come to pay our taxes. As you know, medieval taxes are not paid in coin, but in kind. We have bought you 10% of our flock and gave the king a half-grown, half-dead, half-plucked, ugly chicken. The king, you will recall, is living out of a Fury 3. Fury 3s don't have chicken runs in them. He did the only thing he could think to do. He gave the king as a gift to his cousin, the chicken, as a gift to his cousin, the king of Lydias. King of Lydias was in better circumstances, and more importantly, had knights in better circumstances, called up a knight who had actually had a farm, presented it to him, and named him keeper of the royal car. That is the sum total of taxes that Adenveld got out of Untitled. So,
That's great.
why are we a principality?
Okay, time to restart.
Because we want out of Adenveld. In doing the second reign, and Untitled went out west for Crown Tournament and won the Adenveld Crown Tournament. And Adenveld didn't like it when the crown lived a long way from them. So, and he dropped a couple comments along the lines of, yeah, we got some really good fighters, a lot better than me in Untitled. This wasn't true. He was the best one we had at the time. But we wanted away from Adenveld, and Adenveld now wanted away from us. Third reign of Untitled, the prince and princess of Simon and Tessa, yes, the same Tessa. And two things happened then, that day. And to describe one of them, I have to go back 3 years and actually talk about myself and my friend. In 1975, a friend of mine called Chris Eggs and I heard about the SCA together. From somebody who had come to our university from the Dallas area and had been active in it. We were fencers. The SCA sounded great. That weekend there was an event. Chris went to it, I couldn't, I was working on a play. The next week, there was a baronial meeting. I went to the baronial meeting and I walked away saying I want nothing to do with this bunch of losers. Nothing wrong with the group then, I hit there on a bad day. But Chris called himself Tyvar Moondragon and started fencing. Now, that would be much harder to do today because you'd have to get rules and approval and blah, blah, blah. But we were kind of wild and woolly then, and he had no problem just doing it. Eventually, someone asked him to write rules for what he was doing. But this is where fencing started in the SCA. That's not quite true. It was fencing day one at the first tournament. And it soon died because the people doing it didn't try to fit in. Chris Tyvar tried to fit in. And it spread throughout the area of Untitled, now the Principality of Untitled, it spread. Some people liked it, some people hated it. But on March 10th, 1979, the Prince and Princess of Untitled established an order whose symbol was a white scarf. It's a Principality order, and it was the first recognition for fencers anywhere in the SCA. That same court, they announced, we are going for kingdom status now. We're putting in the paperwork. We need more members. At the time, a kingdom had to have 200 subscribing members, 200 people getting newsletters. The reason for this was very straightforward. That's the minimum number to get bulk rate for mailing out newsletters.
It makes sense. It's just so simple.
Yep. So we have to go on a big membership push, and that's when I first bought my membership, although I've been fencing for a little bit. That's also because of the other event, the White Scarf, when I decided I was in this for real. I was coming to some things in fencing with Chris, but it was real for me when he was given the award, the order, made a member of the Order of the Cavalier with the symbol of a White Scout. Now, for the last year or two, occasionally we'd see a crown come by, and they'd do things we didn't want done. Now, we didn't invent it our own ways. We'd started it all up, pretty much from scratch, because we didn't have anyone to show us how. So when someone came and said, this is the way we do it, we didn't like it. One specific example, there was a king who came here from Maidenbelt and was horrified that we were saluting our ladies when we fought. Why? Well, it turns out the household he was part of, when you had a lady's favors, it meant you had her favors. And there were more than one knight who had the favor of more than one lady, and as long as you were careful not to win, you might pull this off for a while. And he did not.
La la.
So he did not like the fact that we were saluting our ladies and said so, and we said, well, we like saluting our ladies, they're important to us, and well, but it's, you're setting them up for horrible gossip. If it's assumed that you have her favors, that's a theoretical possibility. Well, we have no problem with it, and we'd rather keep doing it. And he said, well, I am the king, and today at least you will not salute your ladies.
Oh.
First round, first fight. Untitled Black Wolf came out, and Marshal saw, are you properly armed and armored? Oh, wait, my greave isn't tied. Excuse me. My lady, could you come tie my greave? And he walked over, and his lady came up and tied his greave. And by the time that was finished, his opponent realized there was a buckle that needed tending to and had to walk over and get his lady to fix his armor. And the Untitled fighters were so new and so out of place and so untrained that all day long, not one fighter got to the field without, in full armor, without needing his lady to fix his armor.
I see what you did there.
Untitled wanted rid of Maidenbelt. Maidenbelt wanted rid of Untitled. One of the big reasons we wanted rid of Untitled was things like that king, and that wasn't the only one. Because the kings would come in here and do things their way, and even if it was well intended, which sometimes it wasn't our way, and when they were gone, we'd have to sweep up the mess. We pushed to become our own kingdom. We had to do a big population push. So did the rest of Maidenbelt. They have to have 200 people left when we leave. On the day the final count was made official, Untitled had 240 people. The remainder of Maidenbelt had 201.
Wow.
Oh.
Just made it.
And everyone in Untitled, even the ones who can't stand each other, are pushing together to make this happen because we want out of Maidenbelt. And everything is all peaches and cream, and everyone is happy. Because we figured out we don't have to let the damn king into our kingdom, into our area anymore. The problem is, eventually we hold crown tournament, and somebody wins. And for half the people, he's on the wrong side. And you suddenly realize, wait a minute, this doesn't mean we don't have to let the king in. This means the king never goes away. Now, I'm not going to blame either side for the blow up, but the first reign of Untitled blew up. The problem is this: a king has far more power than anybody else. Far more than the prince he just replaced, by the way. Now, Everyone knows how much power, how much influence, how much oomph they have. They may not like it, but they know what they can and can't do, right? Well, each decision can only be made once. There is no increase in power. If somebody else appears who suddenly has a lot of power, what does that mean? You don't have the power you had anymore. Decisions you could make because the crown's 2,000 miles away, you can't make when the crown's next door. And everyone blames the crown because everyone knows they've lost some of their ability to do things. In the best of circumstances, this is grossly uncomfortable. These were not the best of circumstances. And it blew up. By the end of that reign, the board of directors sent a group of 3 people to come in and try to fix it. And that made it worse, except for one thing. Coming out of that, everyone in Untitled, it had left such a bad taste in everyone's mouth that we knew we never want things to get so bad that the board comes in again, because they are worse than our rivals.
Fact.
We then had, out of sheer luck, the guy who won the next crown tournament was capable, with his lady, of being careful. He didn't like it. He was a printer. He printed copies of Kingdom Law and copies of Kapora and had them by every chair he sat in read, had them by every phone in his house, and had them in every bathroom. He read them constantly. And things would happen, and people would call and say, well, you're violating Kapora by doing thus and such. And he'd say, well, it says right here on page 27, hold on a second, flip, flip, flip. It says this, boom, 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 boom. And in a large extent, it was purely defensive, and to a very large extent, it had to be because we'd gotten into the habit of looking at everything the crown did in order to find it wrong. And he was absolutely precise in how he did things right, even when he was doing political things. He knew how to play he was an old war gamer, and he played the game straight and safely, and it helped put us back together. Untitled is made of people. It is not made of documents. It is not made of awards. It is made of people. And more than in many kingdoms, the people are what matter most. I've used this example, and I've had people from the East Kingdom say, no, that's wrong, until I finished, and then they said, no, that's right. If the newsletter were published by some ridiculous computer glitch, saying that everyone had the fence with a finger in their left ear, the King of Untitled would call his rapier marshal and say, get me the corrected law within 2 days for my signature. Then we'll publish it in the newsletter and get this fixed. The King of the East would say, call his rapier marshal, say, get a completed copy of this to me and to the curia. We'll hold a curia, we'll vote on it, we will get it fixed. The difference is, until it's published in the next newsletter in the East Kingdom,
Yeah.
they'd have to. It's the rule. There was another difference in Untitled. Now, how many of you know anything at all about, how many don't know anything at all about our awards system?
We do have a few newcomers on the
We have a
website
couple of
right
actual newbies here. Okay.
Yes.
There is a huge set of awards, and you don't have to learn them. In point of fact, very few people know all of the Untitled awards, okay? I'm going to give you a very brief breakdown of the awards because it's part of how we keep score. It isn't how we play the game, but it is a little bit how we keep score. We have the rulers, the king and the queen. We have not had a prince and princess ruling in Ontario since we became a kingdom back in '79. But the Oklahoma group is looking at becoming a principality. So there will probably be a ruling prince and princess soon.
Yay.
For that area, not for us. If you've been king or queen twice, you are a duke or duchess. That's the highest rank of award. Within them, the precedence is who became duke or duchess first. The next rank is someone who's been king or queen once. There are count or countess. There's almost nobody in Ontario now whose rank is viscount or viscountess, but that's likely to change. A viscount or viscountess has been prince or princess once. The next level below that, and this is very unusual, most kingdoms don't do this, are the barons in fief, the baron and baroness of Elfsea, because it's not their precedence, it's Elfsea's. They are not in order of when they were made. They are in order of when the barony was made. So, any baron or baroness of a barony made before 1989 march in front of the baron and baroness of Elfsea. Any baron or baroness made after '89 will march after the baron and baroness of Elfsea because their barony doesn't have. Next are the peers. Knights, lords, masters of arms. Oh, I was
gonna ask later after we were done with.
Okay, so we've created two peerage orders. The first one because, hey, let's make this twice. One piece of this stuff. The next two were made because this guy won't square fieldy and we wanted to be with the knights. And because non-fighters get to be peers too. Okay. In 1971, the board of directors had a problem. Remember, this isn't long after they had proclaimed themselves on top of the SCA. And a lot of people really, really, really still hated them for it. Well, there was somebody doing lots of good work for, thank you, for the board of directors, but not for their kingdom, and their kingdom didn't give them a law. So the board of directors decided that they would make a new peerage that they could give out. And so they established the Order of the Pelican. What a stupid name.
I was just going to ask, why Pelican?
Okay, a pelican is a Christian symbol of martyrdom.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it was believed that if they couldn't find fish for their young, they would cut open their own breast and feed their young out with their own blood, and this is the ultimate symbol of service. The truth is, they'd get fish, the babies would peck, with sharp beaks, they'd peck the underside of the thing, and she'd bleed onto her own breast. But what was believed was that they were doing it on purpose to feed their young. So that is the ultimate symbol of service, no matter how stupid it sounds. I can get away with saying that because I'm the only pelican in the room.
Don't we refer to it as service beyond sanity?
Because helping the board of directors counts as martyrdom?
You
Well,
know, maybe.
Out of the mouth of babes.
I'm just saying, out of the mouth of babes.
in point of fact, it was the Lord King of Arms, the person in charge of all heraldry for the SCA. But they started making others. A year or so later, they decided, well, kings and queens could make pelicans too. But if you didn't have 5 pelicans in your kingdom, you had to get permission from the imperial pelicans.
Oh my God.
Now, at the time, the board were calling themselves the Imperium and giving themselves the title their Serenities.
Okay.
Yes, if you didn't
A
have
few
time.
years
Oh my
later,
God.
that went away.
I am so using that. Next time, it's happening.
It's a shirt now.
It's a shirt. It's becoming a shirt. That's it.
When the board of directors decided to get out of the medieval business, they dropped the Serenity, they dropped the Imperium, they stopped making pelicans themselves. But the distinction was still kept up because the imperial pelicans thought they were better than their peers. Peer meaning equal.
Right.
And in fact, for a while, they would try to get, and they got a few people, 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 kingdom pelicans. Get every kingdom to agree to give it as the equivalent of an imperial pelican. There were none in Onsteor. There was one candidate for a 7 kingdom pelican. 6 kingdoms said yes. Onsteor said no. I asked the king at the time, why not? I mean, if all the other kingdoms, he said, they don't have to go to events with him. They don't have to go to events with him.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm not kidding. I'm calling them.
while not getting into the specific merits or how I would vote on the candidate, it is true that his service to the SCA was wonderful and that he could be a jerk.
Well, then, there you go.
In any event, so once the pelican was makeable by any crown, and it's for service, and the law is for anything that's not fighting. The law shifted focus and became the peerage for arts and sciences. But that wasn't what it was founded for. It was founded for anything except fighting. Those were the 3 peerages for 54 years. 49 years. Then there was a group that came up, first in Onsteor, the fencers, the swashbucklers originally. Now we now say rapier combat because we're now stuffy. But not completely. The people who swear themselves to the queen each reign are the legion of swashbucklers.
I like that myself.
I just have a quick question. When you say a swashbuckler, I've always, like, what buckles mean swashed? What's the... I don't know the origin of that
In
word.
Elizabethan England, there were gangs of young nobles, walking down the street, twanging on their metal buckler with their sword, looking for challenges. That is swashing your buckler.
Aha! There, you actually can swash a buckle.
Yep,
Okay,
swash a
all
buckler.
right. Oh
Yes.
my God. There you go. There it is. So really, y'all are just a bunch of gang members, really. I mean, that's really what it is. It's just like it's like this big gang.
That name came from gang members.
I love it.
Hashtag thug life.
Okay, for real.
When you
That's
realize that the only time we use that word now is for the group of people who swear themselves to the queen and guard her at all times. Yeah, I guess that's a gang.
I mean, you know, yeah.
But when a knight slams his shield with his sword, he's being a swashbuckler.
Babe, you were a swashbuckler that day.
Now,
I love it. Okay.
fencing grew. The White Scarf became the Order of the White Scarf in Onsteor, and it grew, and this could not work in many other kingdoms.
Right.
In the Kingdom of the East, the rank of an award or order is exactly indicating its prestige. Now, the peerages are the highest. There are grant level awards, there are AOA level awards, there are non-omnigerous, which means don't carry any rank at all awards. And in the East Kingdom, that tells everything you need to know about how much people care about it. Now in Onsteor, we have an order that carries no precedence at all, none, 0, not any. It's called the Order of the Lion.
What does the insignia look like, Your Excellency? Aha!
It is a lion overall, Onsteor star on the gold field. It can only be given out once a reign, which means the king does not give a half a dozen of his friends this membership in this order. So there will always be more people who legitimately deserve it than get it, which makes it, say, extremely valuable. There are dukes that ache for the want of it. But it carries a great deal of prestige, even though it carries no rank. It is my belief that one of the things that helped fencing grow in this kingdom is that fact, because that meant it was possible for the Order of the White Scarf, which carries a grant of arm, to be looked on as far more prestigious than most grant orders.
May I ask a question? You might have mentioned it earlier and I missed it. Where did the white scarf and fencing, when did that become synonymous? I mean, when?
Well,
Did I miss that?
no.
How do I?
In the Renaissance and post-Renaissance, you have to mark your officers at war. Well, you're at war, and the officer died. I'm going to name you the new officer. I need people who didn't see me do it, to know you're an officer. One of the symbols they used for that was a white scarf tied around the shoulder.
Okay.
There are portraits of people wearing them. Since that started in the Renaissance, many of those people have rapiers on in the portrait. Now, where it really came from is that it is a crucial symbol in the play Cyrano de Bergerac, when the officer we're not that impressed with saves his life out in the middle of a battle by taking off his scarf so he'd be a lesser target, and escaped. And Cyrano, our hero, says, the difference between your courage and mine is if I had been there, I would have picked it up and put it on. An officer should not so easily let go of the honor of being a target. Tell you what, let me wear your scarf in tonight's battle. You know you're safe making that offer. My scarf is in the middle of that battlefield since yesterday. It'd be impossible to get it. And Cyrano pulls it out of his pocket. That is why, and that's Tyler's favorite movie. That is why the white scarf was picked as a symbol for the Order of the Cavalier of the Principality, and therefore the white scarf of Montseor.
Is that SCA-Y or just Onsteor?
Well, that's a good question.
Oh, I get it. Oh, sorry. I
Same
didn't
question
get
could
it.
be
It is
posed
an-
towards the lion.
It is an, what?
Same question could be posed towards the lion.
The lion is an Onsteor specific award. Many kingdoms, most kingdoms have some equivalent, but the Lion of Onsteor is completely separate, even from the Order of Lions of Adenvelt, Defenders of the Dream, established by the same king and queen when they were king and queen of Adenvelt. There is no connection at all between them. But the Onsteor started the white scarf of Onsteor. We were ahead of everyone in the 80s in fencing. And we got a call, due to a bizarre set of circumstances. I'm actually the person who got the call, although it was actually for my wife. From the principal herald of the Outlands, they wanted permission to have an Order of the White Scarf of the Outlands, which that's a conflict. You can't register that name without our permission because we already have it registered. And wanted to do a big treaty saying that we support each other. I was horrified. We've worked hard to make this thing valuable. This is our kingdom's order. Why don't you make your kingdom symbol and use it to, and do what it takes to make it valuable? The argument that convinced me was if they want it, it's already not a kingdom symbol. If they want it, it's a symbol for more than your kingdom now. So we established in '87 the Order of the White Scarf of the Outlands. Several of us went out there and did a big ceremony with it. About 5 years later, And that's it. It's 2 kingdoms, right?
Okay.
About 5 years later, Trimaris called and said they want to establish the Order of the White Scarf of Trimaris. Yes.
Real quick, where is Trimaris? What is
Oh,
Trimaris?
Trimaris is the kingdom of Florida.
Okay.
Okay.
The Outlands is the kingdom of the New Mexico, Colorado.
In there, kind of that,
Mhm.
sort of that.
It's a Florida call.
The Florida code, yes. Now, we're already having a war with them every year. And they want to have a white scarf too, and they want to do it at the war, and they want us to fight the 2 people they're considering giving it to, and tell them if we think they're good enough. So we went out there and we established the white scarf in Trimaris. Then it became pretty much an open offer. If you want a fencing order of the white scarf joining the treaty, it's available. And within a year, Atlanta and Aytonville both joined, neither knowing the other one had.
And Atlanta is?
Atlanta is the Middle Atlantic. Maryland, Virginia, Carolina. And one of the first white scarves of Atlanta was in fact my cadet.
Oh, fabulous.
Cadet is a student of a white scarf.
There's a class on that, y'all. Don't worry.
I don't remember the order. Eventually there were 13 white scarf orders in 13 kingdoms, 12 of them joined by treaty. One kingdom, the West, the first kingdom, didn't want to sign a treaty, so we did an ordinary heraldic letter of permission to conflict. So the answer to your question, is it just on Ceylon? Is it the known world? No. It is 13 of 19 kingdoms. And that happened in large part because there wasn't a higher level order possible. There was no fencing, no way a fencer could get a peerage as a fencer. From 2010 to 2013, there was a lot of work done to consider the possibility of a new peerage order, and this was a revolutionary change. There hadn't been one since year 6. But in 2015, we finally established another order of peerage. That's the Order of Defense. And the white scarf was not needed for the same purpose anymore. There are now 5 open orders of the white scarf. 8 of them have been closed. Of those 5, 2 of them no longer carry rank. Untitled is one of them. It's not on Midras now.
What did you just say?
What
What did you say?
By the way, thank you for asking.
What did you just say?
It no longer carries rank. The white scarf used to have a grant rank. Now we had the peerage rank, the grant rank, the airway rank, and no rank.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it was also the highest order, and now it's not, it has been moved off the ladder completely. And we have a new grant level order that's an actual mid-range
So
order.
if you decide to be fencing, you wear a white scarf.
No, you still have to be a member of the order, and it's still a prestigious order. It doesn't have any rank. The lion doesn't have any rank either. And yes, it's a polled order, which means the crown asks our opinion before they make someone.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. I just was a little confused.
No, the thing is, the SCA has its own language. I don't know which words you don't know. And I think in that language, I have to be stopped when I say something you don't understand to explain it. I teach statistics. I'm used to students telling me, I didn't understand that. It's not a problem. I really appreciate you doing that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I understand now.
All right, where are we? Now, what makes the SCA? We've discussed a large part of how we got here. There's lots and lots more history we could discuss. Come talk to me at some event if you want more. The question is still, what is the SCA really? The SCA is not a philosophy, and it's not a corporation. The SCA is made out of activities, doing things. She introduced me with with a list of titles. I introduced myself by saying I'm a fencer, I'm a poet, I'm a bard, I'm a herald, I'm a heavy fighter. Okay? Because it's made out of activities. We had someone join the SEPs about 10 years ago, and we realized a little too late she was waiting to be entertained. She wanted the show to take place in front of her. And while a lot of what we do is showy, that's not what we're doing, and she eventually left. Find the cool activities. Do the cool activities. That's what we're really here for. I can tell you stories about the neat people. I can tell you stories about the stupid people. I can tell you glorious stories about our heroes. And it's great to tell these stories, it's great to hear these stories. But the goal is to be the hero next year. To do the cool, fun thing. To enjoy it. We are not an academic group. Having said that, many of our people have higher degrees. Many of our people have translated important documents that had never been put in English before. Many of our people work as docents in museums. Find the cool thing you want to do. Find the fun game. There's a lot of it here.
Okay, which one's your favorite? Which one's your favorite?
Still Newcastle.
No, which activity in the SCA is your favorite?
That's not what I meant.
He answered the correct question.
Benson. Well, it's an impossible question to answer. What have I done most important, most of my heart and soul into? Fencing. There is a feeling in the clash of two large armies coming together, sword and board, that can't be matched anywhere else. Being a performer.
I was gonna say, you made me cry my eyeballs out, and it was wonderful. You
Good.
tell a darn good story.
There are too many great things that pull me here. Yeah, saying fun things that people want to listen to, like right now, is one of the reasons I stay in. Standing up around the campfire late at night to tell a story, or recite a poem. Now, I can talk forever. What is there about the SCA you'd like to hear more about? What is there about Elfsea or about Elfsea? I haven't talked about Elfsea. Let's back up. we became a kingdom. Now, the Dallas-Fort Worth group was there near the SEPs. I drove out here from East Dallas, and I left at 4:15. Okay? That is no way to hold evening activities on a regular basis. The Arlington people, some Fort Worth people still then, but mostly Arlington, wanted to be their own group. This was in '78 in the late Principality. they put on our first coronation. The first Elfsea event was also the event where we became a kingdom. The Shire of Elfsea and the Kingdom of Untitled have the same birthday. That Friday night, a unofficial group was putting on an event. That Saturday, that group was officially the Shire of Elfsea.
So does that mean Elfsea is the birthplace of Untitled?
Oh, I like
That's
that.
what we're hearing.
Jean Marie, is that your takeaway?
The birthplace of the kingdom.
It sounded like that.
Untitled existed before that as a principality and before that as a region. And Elfsea was never a group in the region. It was never a group in the principality. But yes, this is where Jonathan rode up on his white horse and became the king of Untitled, and we don't have to let the king of Adenbelt in anymore.
Master Robin, real quick, we have a question coming in from online, and they would like to know, well, we actually have two questions. So question number one is, why is the seashell on the badge? There's a seashell going on with Elfsea, and of course the castle, and why we're called Elfsea. The other question is, Lady Eleanor asked you to sing a song last time you taught this class, and you did, and she wanted to know if you would do it again.
Sing a song?
She asked you if you would sing a song, and she wanted to know if you would do that again. You can blame Eleanor for that.
My guess is what she's remembering is a poem because I sing off key.
Okay, well then it was probably a poem that she's
Okay.
talking about.
Please tell me which. Please, Eleanor, let me know what piece you're talking about. I'll tell you if I have it on tap right now. Some pieces I have to go back through for a while and remember. Now, what was the other question?
Why is there a seashell on our badge?
Oh, sea. Why Elfsea? I'm not really sure. I believe Prithian Elvenstar. Well, that's actually an interesting issue. There are rules for how names can be made in the SCA, which are trying to make more period style names. I've been told that as a Renaissance persona, I should not have a name like Robin of Gilwell, because I'm from the 16th century, and I have replied with, this is the same 16th century where two queens of England were Anne of Cleves and Catherine of Aragon. There was also the Baron Howard of Effingham. Now, I know that's cheating. It was Thomas Howard. It's a sub-branch of the Howard family, who were mostly Dukes of Norfolk. And so he was given the baronial title, the Baron Howard of Effingham. Why Elfsea? I'm not sure. I do know one great story about it, which is the name had already passed. The rules have gotten tighter and tighter over the years. And specifically in 79, 80, 81, rules got much tighter for what kind of name would pass, and Elfsea passed early on in that. A couple years later, a lady who called herself Prithian Elvenstar. Now, please understand, if your name won't pass, they will give you a holding name composed of as much of your name as you can of your group name. So if I had tried to be Robin Twinkie Guy, they wouldn't have allowed that. They would have changed it to Robin of the Steps. So Prithian Elvenstar's name was turned down for showing non-human origin. Therefore, it was changed by their rules to Prithian of Elfsea.
Aha.
I'm not entirely sure why that's supposed to be better, except that Elfsea was already passed.
Okay.
But why else? I don't know.
Okay.
But seashells are there because it's a sea.
Okay. We have another, by the way, Eleanor has chimed in and said, your choice. So, yes. And then another question has come in about, and I'm assuming that the person who is asking the question would like to know, how are the names chosen? Are we talking, I assume she's talking about the group names. Obviously, Stargate is in reference to NASA and, of course, a really awesome sci-fi show back in the day. But, I mean, are there other groups that have formed, you know?
Okay. There was a College of
Yeah, how
Arms.
does Namron get its name? I think we all know the answer to that one. But
It's Norman. It's Norman, Oklahoma, and Norman spelled backwards.
There it is.
It would never pass today.
Right.
Wouldn't work in Tulsa either.
There are rules for what makes a proper period name, and as our knowledge has increased and our ability to look things up has increased, those rules have changed over time. So, there were names that were passed that could not pass today.
Obviously, like Sir Ace of Hearts. That's not gonna fly anymore.
That one would be hard because Asaph is a perfectly good first name and Hearts is a perfectly good surname. It is a proper period name that sounds modern to our ears.
Yes.
But Willow the Wisp.
I think you might get
Our
caught
first
for
name.
Right, that would not work.
Yeah.
Willow the Wisp was turned down originally
Was it?
for conflict. She had to get permission from Will the Wisp,
Oh my goodness.
an already passed name.
Oh my goodness.
But you have to understand that back in the 70s when her name passed, one of the acceptable languages for a name was Sindarin. You could use a Tolkien elven name
Oh my God.
because that's part of what we were doing then.
Well, Michael and Moria.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Missed opportunities. I could have been John Maria of Rivendell.
I'm gonna call you that from now on.
Flag of disapproval.
The thing is, we are trying to make something work for tens of thousands of people.
Right.
For some of them, the idea of a name that pulls them out of the medieval feeling is a serious problem. For a lot more, it's not a problem at all. So ideally, the ideal joke name is one that nobody will catch. Because as funny as you think something is, it is less funny 10 years later when you've heard it every weekend. And if you're hurting someone else's game, what's the point?
Yeah.
So, we come up with a set of rules. I have complaints about how the rules are set up, so does everyone else. The problem is the complaints don't all agree. A group name has to be accepted by a majority of the people in that group. That means the people who are there when the name is passed. There is nobody in Elfsea now who had any say in that name, because it was everyone there in 79 or 80 when the name was submitted. The Barony of Stargate in Houston, there's Blonde may still be around, I'm not sure. I haven't seen him in years, but he could show up again. He'd be the only person left who had any say in it. I haven't seen anyone in years who had any say in the name Barony of the Steps. If the entire group in Elfsea wanted to change the name to something else, you could do that. My guess is that the weight of tradition, which means a great deal in Elfsea, plus the inability to get 100 people to agree on anything, would mean that it would never happen.
Master Robin, also, there's a question coming in here, and it's actually a really good one. The question is, when and or why did the SCA start shifting away from like Tolkien and other fantasy-based names? Like at some point or another did we, where was the shift? When did we stop being yay Tolkien and start being, no, that would not be authentic or period or what have you?
That's a good question. There was no immediate single answer.
Okay.
Now, parts of it have answers. Sindarin stopped being an acceptable language between 79 and 82 when Wilhelm von Schlissel's new rules were published. There was a major rules change in about 89 or 90 that made it harder to get silly names.
Okay.
But the way the college works, you talk to the local herald, you try to come up with a name. The local herald tries to steer you toward a period name, and you want Irk Fitzmunga. He tells you that sounds dorky, you really don't want that. You prove to him it's a period name, and you get it, you submit it. He can't stop you from submitting it, by the way. It gets sent up to all the heralds in the kingdom, the commenting heralds. They look up name elements and they say, yeah, that works. Or, no, that doesn't work. Or, this is a real case. Richard of Gloucester, with a boar's head as a badge, there already was one. But all the on-stay or on top-level heralds get to comment on it and decide whether or not it's sent up. Where it goes to top-level heralds from all the kingdoms, and they get a few months to comment on it. Then the Pelican King or Queen of Arms makes the final decision based on what's been on the comments. The goal is to try to come up with a consensus. That works about as well as it does anywhere else. But since we have some idea, we know what the rules are, they're written down. Since we have some sort of agreement on what's reasonable within them, usually we can come up with a good idea of whether this is an acceptable name. The one thing I wish I could change, I wish I could get people to tell newcomers, stop telling them, first come up with a name, and start saying, first find period name elements to make a name with. I had an easy time of it. It's not hard to find an Englishman named Robin in the literature. And Gilwell is a specific place in England. It's also perfectly good English name elements put together. But the goal is to get a period name. When did we start doing Tolkien? Well, we never agreed. So some of us stopped at different times than other people stopped. But really, from the mid-70s, we stopped trying to be a fantasy organization, started trying to be a medieval organization. Having said that, there were some people early on who wanted that. And there are still people today who go to Penzic and put on elf ears. So, when did we stop doing that? Pretty soon, I hope. I hope I have made that answer both understandable and as complex as it needs to be. Okay. Somebody asked for a form. I'm not going to do one of the long pieces, but give me a couple minutes of thought to put together 2 or 3 lines. I always get long in this one, and I'll see what I can do for you.
While we're here, does anyone here have any questions? I know this is kind of class number 1 where we're just kind of starting out, but does anyone have anything to kind of in their mind, or why, what's up? Still haven't heard that song.
Oh, he's finished.
I have a question for you. Out of all of your years in this crazy mixed up game, what is your most memorable moment? Your wow moment in the SCA?
There are way too many for me to rank them.
Pick one, just anything.
Okay, how about this?
I will pick a few. Give me a minute.
Because you said you found out about it, and you thought these people are crazy, and you never wanted to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all been there. What was the one thing that changed it to where you decided this was for you?
It's still where I could fence the tiger. I've been doing that since before he and I met the SCA. And that got me out to some events, and the meeting I went to was mainly people complaining.
Right.
Were the complaints valid? I don't know. But they weren't what a newcomer needed to hear. There was nothing exciting and opening and grand, and I have the answer to you. The one single moment. I was young and new and excited and stupid and all those things. In '79, I'd been fencing a little bit. I'd started getting active in the steps, and I'd talked about fighting what we called heavy then and called chivalric now. I hadn't done any of it. The marshal of the steps, who was also vicar of the steps, Lord Barnaker, came up to me Saturday morning and said, okay, Robin, you've been talking about fighting. I've got 23 people in the list. 24 is a nice round number and makes things a lot easier. Do you want to enter the list? Sure, why not? Who am I fighting? His Royal Highness, Count Sir Jonathan de Loftus. There was only one man in Ontario who has won Crown Tournament. He's done it twice. He's going to be my king next month, and I'm supposed to try to fight him.
Did you knock his block off, Robin?
I did not. They put Lloyd's helm on me, Squire William of Weir's shield on my arm. I had a kidney belt. We had gorgets for really the first time. They were very new. They gave me Lady Joycelyn's sword, and Squire William threw shots at my leg and my head, and I did this for about 30 seconds, and that was the sum total of training I had before I walked on the tournament field.
Okay.
There was no authorization procedure yet.
Oh my God.
Okay, I walk out there. He was very nice. He let me throw some blows. Then he threw one. Right here.
Oh.
In your leg?
That's my first hit too.
What we did not have yet, what we did not have yet was leg armor. There was a pair of tights there.
Oh no.
I screamed. I dropped to my knees. He let me throw some blows. Then he threw one.
Oh no. Ow.
I fell down. I got up.
Oh, you got that.
I limped off the field, hot, sweaty, covered in dirt, feeling really, really stupid, like I just made a complete fool of myself, and worse yet, it's double a limb. I have to do this again.
Oh.
And as God is my witness, I had no reason to. I'm sitting there thinking, I can throw myself in the car in 10 minutes and go home to the air conditioning and never come back to these idiots again.
Neil cried.
And someone came up to me and said, excuse me, my lord, the Crown Princess wants to talk to you.
Oh.
The Crown Princess does not know me from Adam's ox. There were only two things she could be thinking about. One, I just tried to kill her lord. And two, I was appallingly bad at it. I start walking over there having no idea what I've done wrong. Well, I'm certain I've done nothing right. And I walked over to where she's sitting there surrounded by 7 ladies in waiting, and I awkwardly bow, thereby exhausting my entire store of protocol. And she had to be reminded who I was, because as I say, she did not know me from Adam's off. Oh yes, you're the one who just fought my lord. I want you to know that I know my lord can only earn glory because there are those with the courage to face him. And I thank you for that. She said, but I saw as they called you to salute your ladies that you had no one to salute. Will you take this my favor and fight for me in the next round?
Crying right
Her
now.
6 ladies in waiting all added their favors. I proudly walked on the field
Moment.
with 7 favors in my belt. And I swear, Jay Rudine came to that event, and Martin of Gilwell went home.
Wow. Wow.
I've had a lot of really impressive, wow, I did the cool thing events.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever had a victory to match that loss.
Wow. Agreed. Wow.
That's the kind of stuff that just, I mean, it stays with you. You know, it just, I know, I got a little emotional
We're just all gonna
there.
cry in a car now.
Okay, like, all right, I need a moment.
I'm gonna cry in front of my friends.
There goes my mascara.
Don't. I have never gotten through telling that story without crying, including right now.
And you shouldn't. That's beautiful.
And that's from the 70s. That was 40 years ago, last May.
That's crazy.
Wow. That's cool.
See, because when you say, like, you know, what is the SCA, I mean, I can't think of a single situation in my life where the possibility of someone having an experience like that. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, you know, you have your big ones, you know, your day you got married, or, you know, when you have your kids and you have those kind of moments. But I mean, something like that, I don't think you can find moments like that. You would have to go to a place like the SCA to find a moment like that, I think. Yes, no? I mean,
That storybook moment. I mean,
yeah,
that's fairy tale.
I don't think Disney could write it better, honestly. I mean, that's major. That's pretty impressive stuff.
I told that story 8 to 10 years later in front of that queen who had forgotten it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And she told me later that one of the things she's always wanted to be was to be the great lady. And to hear that she had been.
Aww. I'll bet that just made her millennium right there. I know. Like, well, I'm getting a little misty over here. Okay.
Your story better not be sad. That
Someone asked for a poem. This wasn't the one I was going to do, but on weekends when we all go out to play, there's always someone laughing at our clothes. Oh, look, they're wearing tunics, leis, and hose. Who are those crazy people anyway? That's what the people always seem to say. My God, that fellow's carrying a sword. They call themselves milady and my lord. Who are those crazy people anyway? But when my eyes meet theirs, it always seems as if their soul is withering away. They live a life that has no noble dreams, no gallant deeds to brighten up the day. And a silent voice from deep within me screams, who are those crazy people anyway?
I gotta tell y'all, just a little side note here, and this is strictly, whenever I have the opportunity, especially at events like, you know, Braggart's or, you know, Defender or any of those kind of events that we have, more times than not, I have brought goodies or, you know, really the best booze I can get my hands on, or, you know, things like that, to try to lure Robin to the table to tell a story. And I'll usually try to, like, you know, can you tell me the story of this, or can you tell me the story of that? But always, I've tried to lure you to the table with goodies and such to tell you the story. To tell some story, or to tell a story. The man tells a great story, y'all. And he's pretty easy to lure.
Can we get that list of tricks that
Barbecue ribs.
Ribs.
I'm really a sap. You can get me to tell stories when I don't have something else I have to do.
Actually, when you told the story of, babe, what's the story that you're in?
oh, there are so many stories.
The Trimaran.
No, I thought it was like.
Well, hear the tale of Trimaran misfortunes, of gold-clad warriors, glory-rich swordsmen. I don't have. That's one of the ones I have to rememorize each time.
It's the Arthurian.
Yes,
The
the Arthurian Company.
Yeah.
That's what it is, the Arthurian Company.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, I'm not even kidding. I confirmed to date my husband after hearing that story.
He does a great version of a ship that gets lost on a 3-hour tour as well. Just saying.
I did not like that one. I found that.
It was a really good one.
I think the shield wall is the first one I heard.
What?
You told one, something about the shield wall.
Seamus and Shield Wall.
Yes.
So gang, real quick, we've got about 10 minutes left for class. Does anyone have any last questions? Folks online, does anyone have any last questions for Master Robin before we go ahead and start wrapping things up? Now's the time to chime in. Anybody? Any other questions?
It's gonna take the online people like 3 minutes to respond to that.
I know, so it's fine. Online people, I'm going to give you a few to get back to us and let us know if you have any other questions.
But hurry, I'm almost out of beer.
We ran out of bribery tools.
I know.
But send credit card info. We'll put it on your tab.
Do we have any questions, Katie?
We got one.
I'm not getting any.
Okay.
I'd heard a story, but it was incomplete about where the Untitled sort of state came from.
So where the Untitled sort of state
I've
came
heard it's
from.
got a pretty
All right.
great past.
The question I have to ask is, which Ontario sort of state?
The current one.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know we had more than one.
Yes.
Oh.
The first one was made by Ormskjöldbedig, who was the first lion of Ontario. Very well made, and had been our sort of state for 15 or more years when it was stolen. Out of the King's truck, not long after coming home from the event. This put a lot of people in a tizzy. They were talking about having another one made and who gets to do it and all that. And Ricardo de Pisa, who was one of the early Lions von Steaua, had a sword that had in the pommel the badge of the lion, which he of course had the right to wear. Now, the sword of state belongs to the Lions von Steaua. We lend it to the king. In our opening, when he's crowned, we come up and we say, okay, are you going to do the right things? And you can have this for now. We have the right to claim it back. And in fact, at coronation again, when he's about to step down, we claim the sword again because it is ours. Somebody once asked me, when I was standing behind the crown, because there were no knights there. Usually there's a knight standing behind the crown with a sword. I was standing behind the king carrying the sword of state. And someone asked me about that. You're not a knight. No, I'm a lion. Oh, do the lions have the right to carry the sword? I said, no. The lions own the sword. The knights have the right to carry our sword. Ricardo's sword is now the sword of state. It belongs to the lions as long as it's used as a sword of state. If the kingdom ever replaces it, it will go back to his widow. So that is where our current sword of state comes from. And it is a history that predates its time as sword of state. It was his court sword.
Very cool. We have a question coming in, and this is really interesting. The question is, what do you see for the future of the SCA? I know that's a pretty broad one, but I think it's an interesting topic. Where do you see us going with this?
If you had asked me that question 10 years ago, I would not have said a fencing period. So I'm going to answer with a good, noble, impressive-sounding non-answer. The people will decide. Yes, the crowns have the power. Yes, the board has the power. This organization will slowly go the direction the people want it to go, because no crown can make you do anything. We can always vote with our feet. And yeah, we put up with some decisions we didn't agree with, But if something happened that we found totally unacceptable, we wouldn't accept it. We'd walk. That's not going to happen. We have final control. No, we don't have final control. We have a final off switch. It's going to slowly go in the way that people make it go. When someone has a cool idea, if you have a cool idea and people tell you can't do it, if it won't work here, listen to them. That's important information. Then do it. I told her she wanted to bring the idea of a Newcomers Academy to Elfsea because she'd seen it done in Cayenne, and I said that works better with Californians than with Texans. We're an Illinois group, and we're not going to put up with that nonsense. And she listened carefully, and then she proved me wrong. Just like I, as one of the early fencers, proved wrong all the people that said fencing can't fit in. What's going to happen next? Something I might argue against. And someone's going to prove me wrong. But in the meantime, we will fight. We will honor our ladies and our lords. We will make beautiful things. We will help each other. That's what the SCA is at its core, and it will continue to be. Specific changes, I don't know. What I do know is that last weekend, when Will Ironworm was out of power and had a tree down, breaking part of his house, a bunch of people with steps went over there, chopped the tree up, and helped build things back together. And I do know that if somebody in Elfsea had had the same situation, a bunch of y'all would have been doing the same thing. And that will continue.
Any other questions?
That is it.
Okay.
Long live the dream.
Aww. I love it. All right, everybody. Well, that is 9 o'clock. Well, 2 minutes to 9 o'clock, so we're just about ready to wrap it up. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in for our online class. I hope you enjoyed it. For those of you that are interested in staying with us, and I hope that you will, our next class will be in August. It's going to be the first Tuesday of that month, which I apologize, I don't have my little calendar thing in front of me. But it'll be the first Tuesday of the month. Same situation here. The live stream will begin at 7 o'clock Central Time.
The 6th.
Oh, the 6th, thank you. So it'll be August 6th. And that topic will be on SCA portly graces and behavior. And a lot of that is because, again, as Master Robert was referring to, a lot of times we have our own language and our own way of doing and being and behaving. And this class is going to help you kind of make heads or tails of those things and just sort of give you an idea about how to go to events, go to things, and kind of understand what you're seeing. And also for you to get involved and know what's with all that Vivat stuff, and we'll talk about that. And, well, why is everyone being so quiet at that tournament? We'll talk about that. Why aren't we cheering and waving flags? We do, but at certain times. So we're going to talk about things like that. And it is going to be, yes, and it is going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited. Duchess Sonia will be teaching class with us, and she's fantastic, so I hope you'll join us. I think that's going to be about it. I will review everyone that was with us tonight on the social media platform and make sure I'll take roll and make sure that I have all the information. If you gave me your regular name, I will put that down. If you can give me an SCA name, that'd be great if you have one. And then, of course, if you're tuning in from a group that's not within Elfsea or not within Elfsea, let me know. It'd be great to know where y'all are coming in from, okay? So I think that's going to wrap it up. Everybody, thank you for coming to class. I appreciate it. I think that's all. Thank you so much.